How many people have their dreams come true? Blanche, when I said I would love to have an evening with our friends who are poets, reading for my birthday and Charlotte's birthday, Blanche made this happen, so thank you so much, Blanche. And thank you all for coming to help me celebrate the crossing of the line into 80. And Charlotte Bunch, the global feminist extraordinaire, it is her birthday too, and we're celebrating together. We like to do that. And all of the splendid poets and the musicians giving their time and coming here to celebrate together at this gathering. It just means so much to all of us. The feminist press, where's Jennifer? She might be here. She is one of the sponsors, and the Center for the Humanities Lost and Found, Sampson Starkweather, made this happen too, and then Yamberley.
The mic is being very low. You guys having a hard time hearing? No? A few people in the back are. Test. Okay. So it's on. I think you just have to be very, very close for it to work. Sorry.
Okay.
Don't be such a lady. Talk up.
Okay. Is this better? All right. Yes. Well, I'm going to wait to talk about Yamberley till she's. Oh, here she is. She's here. Jam. Thank you so much. She made all of this happen in just night and day. I really appreciate it. And Drew Stevens, the designer for the Feminist Press, made the beautiful invitation that went out and the program, and he's just extraordinary. Where's Drew? Somewhere.
He's in the back.
Okay.
I think he's waiting for dinner.
And I want to give a shout out to Caroline Stessinger, impresario, who has brought these beautiful musicians here to sing for us tonight. Crystal Charles and Terry Cook. It's such
All the way from Berlin.
it's such an honor that all of you are here. A shout out too to Woody King Jr., my wonderful producer, who has changed the face of the theater. He has an awesome legacy, and I'm so proud to be part of it. Thank you, Woody. And I had a lot of people say, oh, you should have listed this and that for donations. You know, we all give donations to so many organizations. Of course, I should have put many more on there, or I should have put just your favorite. But I know Outright Action International, Jessica Stern is heading, and Liz Abzug with the Bella Abzug Leadership Institute, and Kathy Albisa with Nesri. Those are three more. You're going to be here. They might be here tonight. Are you here? Any of you? You were here before. You've gone. Okay, but they're just, I so appreciate whatever you feel moved to give to on the occasion of our birthdays. An image of my maternal grandmother at the age of 80 has been on my mind. Marie Josephine Barth of New Orleans. Her long, snowy white hair reached down to her waist. She braided it at night and rolled it up into a loose bun during the day. Her comfortable cotton dresses reached mid-calf, cotton stockings, laced low-heel shoes. She read the Times-Picayune paper on a rocking chair on the front gallery porch with her older sister Nanen. This is her gold medal. Class valedictorian, 1893. Notre Dame School, Sisters of Mercy, New Orleans. She would really want to be here tonight. Also on my mind is the eve of my 10th birthday. I was distraught at the prospect of having two numbers in my age for the rest of my life. I was 9 and I wanted to stay 9. My father could not console me. My mother tried a practical approach. You'll live to be 100. Then you'll have 3 numbers in your age. But now, for now, 80 is enough. As Gloria Steinem reminded me when she wrote that she was going to be in Minnesota today, as someone who is more than a year ahead of you, it is a shock to become an age we thought was reserved for others. But it is fun and a license to do exactly what you want. Well, this birthday reading is exactly what I want. Poetry sustains, inspires, consoles, illuminates, makes life on this struggling, beautiful, beleaguered planet possible. And Blanche and I have been blessed with an extraordinary array of poet friends for the last many decades. We are so honored they accepted this invitation to the gathering here this evening. And may I also say we are so thrilled with all of our godchildren who are here tonight. There's so many of you. I won't take time to name you all, but it's just so fabulous that you're with us tonight. Here is our host, Blanche.
Wow, this is such a wonderful turnout. And we have several rooms. We have the most marvelous people. I think we're just all so blessed. We're together, shoulder to shoulder, on this great journey. There's something very special about the fact that, and there's a seat for Jam up here, if she wants to come, because Jam, the Feminist Press, really the co-sponsor of this amazing event with the Institute for the Humanities, Lost and Found. And the most amazing thing about Lost and Found is that Lost and Found sends graduate students to the archives to find what has gotten lost. And so they've rediscovered Audre Lorde teaching at City College in the Seek program with Adrienne Rich. And they've reprinted What We Are Part Of, teaching at CUNY. The syllabus of Audre Lorde and Adrienne Rich when they first met in 1968. Now, in all immodesty, I met Audre Lorde in 1958 when we were students. But in addition to reprinting Adrienne Rich and Audre Lorde and the Lost and Found, the Institute for Humanities is reprinting Diane DePrima and Emile Alcalay, and all of this, be in touch with the Graduate Center, Lost and Found, upstairs. You can get all of these wonderful books and reprints. To have Diane DePrima's words that got lost is so incredible because Diane and Audre went to Hunter High School together, and they started reading poems together when they were high school students. And then it was Diane DePrima who first published Audre in her first book, which is The First Cities. And there's something great about Diane DePrima's introduction to Audre in 1968 and Diane DePrima's introduction to Emile Alcalay in 2015. And so this great chain of being unites us. Our words, our poems, our love, our activism for peace and freedom and justice unites us. I could say a word. Claire and I met in 1966 at the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And this April, with Charlotte and Roxana, we went to The Hague to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. And we're still doing it. So I could go on and on, as you probably know. But I won't, because Claire Reed's going to corral me in. Right. And so I'm going to introduce our very first poet, who is also Clare Coss's very first goddaughter, Rachel Mayer, whose poetry has appeared in the Kenyon Review, the Chattahoochee Review, the Hudson Valley Echoes, Ophelia, and Clare Coss was the poetry editor of Ophelia, you know, several other On the Issues, poetry editor for On the Issues, and then I'll come back to that. Rachel Mayer was a top 10 finalist in the Strood Poetry Festival in England. She lives in Montclair, New Jersey, with her husband and 3 children. Blessed Rachel Mayer. And her poetry is online if... Kissing.
Honored to be here. Happy birthday. 2 poems. How's the mic?
It's off. I would look at it.
Okay. Blocking my view of my page. Hang on. Actor, dead at 46. If he could see himself, see his life ending, see his own large body still and rumpled in a heap, the thick skin of his face, the lost gaze of his eyes like 2 ocular oceans, viewing the horizon with only minutes to spare, as his soul or his frantically reconfiguring matter lifts out of his body in the twilight of limbo and lingers in the way some suggest a soul does, he would say, oh no, in his deep voice. Holy fuck, I did not just do that. Then he would race back down to the street that leads to the door, that leads to the apartment, that leads to the bathroom floor, and he would stop himself. In fact, he would rip that needle out of his arm, screaming with all of his diaphragmatic gusto, because now he understands what can happen, because sometimes it takes just this kind of push to avert catastrophe. With the needle out, he would tend to himself like ministering to a friend, cold water, manhandling, a string of expletives, shaking, slapping, crying out, and somehow, because this is what needs to happen, he would save himself. Look at the enormous smile on his face now. Then he would thump, thump, thump down the stairs, throw open the door, and run faster than he has ever moved in his life. Through the streets, it would feel like flying, past all the living things, shallow, rooted city trees, pigeons, and the perfectly melded perfume of carbon monoxide and dough and garlic and icy winter. Run to his children, who would be waiting expectantly for him, and he would take them around the corner to the pizza place, and he would ask his son, are you going to eat that crust? Wild blueberries and salt. The sun had just set fire to the shuttered factory sitting high above the road, off the bay, a ruin, all those windows reflecting a massive cornflower blue sky, with clouds pressing between the old glass panes, like the apparitions of those who once drew their breath there, made young once a day when the sun melts into the sea, the light furious and bedazzling for those few minutes, and then gone just like that. Like the ships the harbor once hosted, the climbing masts playing vertical to the ocean's lovely horizontal rocking, and the ironworks, brickyards, salt works, canneries, and all those sardines tucked into tins no more. As the sun turns its back, the old factory is swallowed by a shadow and cools back down to gray, settles back into history, outlined in charcoal, and returns to peeling, molting, the landmass cousin of a shipwreck, its insides lichen-covered, roots pushing up like coastal toes. Still, the bluets, thistle, and clover don't seem to mind. They proliferate this time of year. They have won this round. We are passing through, young and oblivious. We are buds, though we think of ourselves as so much more. And the chirping that passes for conversation has all the brevity, having little responsibility and so much future allows. Do you believe in ghosts, I query? No, you don't. Still, you stop and read every historical marker planted by the side of the road, deferential if not second-sighted. I say, look at the black-eyed Susans and wild blueberries. We hike into the reversing falls in Cobscook Bay, walk along the smooth, cold stones, eye the inlet mildly, almost ready to hike back out, when we hear the sound of water changing its mind, the howl when the Bay of Fundy and the St. John River converge, twice a day, ever since two continents slammed together. We sit. A giant whirlpool takes shape as the tides oscillate and slosh around in the basin where large boulders and the narrow inlet heave the water up. We set our watches to geologic time and stay for hours until the small island where Seals Beach has disappeared under the tide, which boils, balances, and rests. The bay takes its power from the Indian Ocean, and the moon, ever the Earth's darling, plays her usual part. At low tide, fossils carved and silent dry off. There's not enough time to tell you about the birds, except to say that their songs are everywhere. What did we know on this day of heroic metaphors? What compelled us to stay? Did your heart quiet when the ocean waters and the river evened out and silenced the rapids so the birds could be heard? Did we sit for millions of years watching continents collide and species die off? I would like to know what you were thinking as the tides reversed, the rapids rushing in and drowning out the birds, something about water so primordial it hushed us. Did we know our place in this was granular? Maybe you understood the beauty and monotony here to be the harbinger of marriage. Ocean and river we would knit together, such opposing wills, grow threadbare, how forces so out of our control would undermine and age us, how in the end youth would be our sediment. But those tides, lunar and muscular and relentless, the salty pheromones of the sea, like the wordless thing between us always, and the huge shadows that enveloped the bay as the sun set, that heavy curtain that fell, did they portend all the losses that would drink our youth like soup, or was it just the end of an exquisite day where nature won over and over again?
I get to introduce Charlotte. Charlotte Bunch, the woman who said, think globally, act locally. Charlotte is going to read now. Is that okay? Charlotte Bunch, happy birthday.
Thank you. Well, as all of you know, I have the great privilege and pleasure of piggybacking on my dear friend Claire's birthday, and I can't think of any greater pleasure than being born on her 9th birthday, just as she was trying to stay 9 years old. And I'm sure you all share with me in thinking that this is the best older sister anyone could ever have, or younger sister for that matter, too. So I thank you for your sisterhood and being a co-celebrant here with you, as you were co-celebrating with me last year at 70. In addition to sharing a birth date, there's another thing that Claire and I share that I've been reflecting on and thinking about her work and her literature and her poetry and her plays. And that's that we both grew up with having one parent from the north of the U.S. and one from the south. And we grew up at a time when that made a difference, when there was a real difference. And it, I think, enabled us to see that there wasn't any one way that things had to be done. In my family, we used to joke that when we were little, we thought our aunts were the people from our father's side, from the south, and our aunts were the ones from our mother's side. So there was clearly no one way to pronounce this word, along with many other things that I think you learn very young in a mixed family, as it were, even of that limitation. And I bring that up because I think one of the things that has marked Claire's work that I want to pay my tribute to is the way that she has always paid attention to difference and diversity. And to both difference as an understanding that there's a richness in knowing what else and all the different ways that things can be based on family, race, class, gender, and sexuality. But the difference is also the basis often of power and oppression. And that ability to build themes which expose and bring out into the open how those differences get abused and used is characterized in every bit of work that Clare has done and continues to do, as we will see in the music to come. So I really want to celebrate tonight diversity and Clare's deep commitment to bringing justice and celebrating difference as a part of the bringing of justice so that it no longer is the basis of power and privilege. As you know, I'm not a poet, and I almost panicked when Clare suggested I read a poem. So being a political activist, I thought for a long time, in fact, I've read more poetry in the last 2 weeks, Roxanne, I can tell you, than I probably read in the last 20 years, which I consider a gift from you, Clare. Thank you, to have the obligation to read poetry. It was great. And what I decided to go back to was the 60s, that time which I think Margaret Randall's photograph here captures of Blanche and Clare when they met, and that time when I was emerging as a lesbian feminist. And there's a poet who couldn't be with us tonight who symbolizes that time for me, and it's Judy Grahn and the work that she wrote. So I want to read from one of her Common Woman poems that was published by the Furies Collective, but was originally in a pamphlet, which I found. As many of you know, I kind of save everything. This was 20 cents in Oakland, California, in the late 60s. I think it was 69. We reprinted it in the Furies. We put it in the Furies in 72, but I think it was originally 69. So this comes from her series of poems called The Common Woman. Carol in the park, chewing on straws. She has taken a woman lover. Whatever shall we do? She has taken a woman lover. How lucky it wasn't you. Though in this case I would say, how lucky it was you. And all the day through she smiles and lies and grits her teeth and pretends to be shy or weak or busy. Then she goes home and pounds her own nails, makes her own bets, and fixes her own car with her friend. She goes as far as women can go without protection from men. On weekends, she dreams of becoming a tree that dreams it is ground up and sent to the paper factory, where it lies helpless in sheets until it dreams of becoming a paper airplane and rises on its own current, where it turns into a bird, a great coasting bird that dreams of becoming more free even than that, a feather finally, or a piece of air with lightning in it. She has taken a woman lover. Whatever can we say? She walks around all day quietly, but underneath it, she's electric. Electric blue. angry energy inside a passive form, the common woman is as common as a thunderstorm. So with that poem, I would just like to celebrate our most uncommon common woman, our dear friend Clare Coss, who is indeed a quiet electric thunderstorm for justice, for women, for all the kinds of areas of concern that we have, and whose grace, beauty, patience, and quiet wisdom we love and honor, and I see guiding me as my elder sister through the rest of my life. Thank you, Clare.
That is so great. Thank you, Charlotte. Now, Judy Lerner, are you okay?
Has another event.
Oh, okay. That means there's a chair there for Patty Kenner. So our next poet, and happy birthday, Charlotte, one more time. That was wonderful. Is Cheryl Clark. Cheryl Clark, born in Washington. I wanted to say that because she went to...
She's not 80.
No, she's younger than I am. Cheryl Clark is the author of 4 collections of poetry. She is so amazing, and a lot of Cheryl Clark's work is online, so you can. I spent a lot of time reading Cheryl Clark the other day, and why I wanted to say that Cheryl Clark was born in Washington is she went to Howard University, but she received her master's and PhD from Rutgers, where I think it is fair to say you've spent most of your life as the founder of Women and Gender Studies, the founding director of Diverse Community Affairs, dean of students, and now she has, after 40-some years, retired, but she's an activist, and she's on the board of CLAGS right here at the City University, and Estrella, and the Newark Pride Alliance. That's not true?
Newark, yeah.
Newark, okay. Okay, anyway, Cheryl Clark, great poet, great friend, super activist. Cheryl Clark.
Thank you. Now you're going to make me follow Charlotte and Judy Guan. I'm very honored to be here tonight and to be among all these wonderful poets and activists and women I've seen over the years. A major thing about Clare Coss, I can say, is that she always creates an opportunity for lesbians to come together. And I've been going back, see, I'm using up my time now. I've been going back and forth over what to read. So I'll start with a poem by Audre Lorde, A Woman Speaks. Moon marked and touched by sun, my magic is unwritten, but when the sea turns back, it will leave my shape behind. I seek no favor untouched by blood, unrelenting as the curse of love, permanent as my errors or my pride. I do not mix love with pity, nor hate with scorn. And if you would know me, Look into the entrails of Uranus where the restless oceans pound. I do not dwell within my birth nor my divinities, who am ageless and half grown and still seeking my sisters. Witches and homie wear me inside their coiled cloths, as our mother did mourning. I have been woman for a long time. Beware my smile. I am treacherous with old magic and the new fury, with all your wide futures promised. I am woman and not white. But read a sort of newish poem. Well, it is. It's called All This for Changing a Lane. A fly black girl, brown skin and open brown face was anything but bland. Even in that mug shot and orange jumpsuit. On her way to life by way of Prairie View, Texas, now joining the long list of the most infamous, where unarmed Black death thrives in cop custody if you're changing lanes and smoking a cigarette at the same time. But check it out. You're a fly Black girl smoking a cigarette, brown skin and open brown face, even when irritated. Being told by a smoky to dump your smoke, brags, I will light you up, and drags you from your car. Sort of like lynching, except Sandy was in custody, though not convinced of its lawfulness. Black people get lynched over cigars, cigarettes, cigarillos, whistling, loud music, loud talk, back talk, praying, running, defective tail lights, toy guns, hoodies, and their own wallets. Mamie Till knew about lynching. She crowbarred Emmett's casket open and touched every part of what was left of little man's swollen body, dredged up from Money, Mississippi. Don't be Black coming from Chicago, traveling south. You won't stand the storm. If you're a sassy Black teenager or a fly Black girl, brown skin and open brown face, smoking a cigarette, changing lanes, and unused to taking load to nonsense, even fatal nonsense. Better stay with the extreme temperatures of your Midwest metropole than to cross the median in a Texas prairie or a Mississippi Delta town. White people, don't blame it all on your stars and bars. Start with your stars and stripes. One more. It's called Body Double. And it appeared in a publication that my friend Stephen Fullwood from the Schomburg and I did with AIDS Project Los Angeles. It's called To Be Left with the Body. Almost forgot it. To Be Left with the Body. But this is Body Double. Call it Weight Reassignment and Transition from this post-menopausal machine of bulbous tits, bulging belly, and varicose veins to a 60-year-old engine buff with weightlifting, lightly popping arm muscles, elongated thighs in thong gear, hollow-cheeked and wild-ass salt and pepper naps, a proud silver monochrome hung in a downtown gallery. Yeah. Proud as that Baltimore Oriole burnished by the evening luminosity glinting his underbelly, as that red-headed finch landed on the feeder, as that variant charcoal duck with frothy white crown paddling upstream fishing. Proud like that gentleman farmer neighbor repairing tractors in winter to show at the Horseshoe Festival late summer. That one belonged to my father, Cheryl, he tells me proud, made 60 years ago, pointing to a red lacquered 1947 Farm All tractor, pristine in the noon sun. But me proud to show this contraption of bulbous tits and bulging belly, two cloud loafs, one on top of the other, drifting below the treescape. Happy birthday, Claire. Happy birthday,
Now, I get to introduce Clare Reed.
I'm not supposed to be here. Okay, I'd very much like to.
Okay, let me introduce you, if I may.
What's to say? I'm a big mouth old lady, cranky.
Cranky. Clare Reed is one of the great poets in our lives, and Clare Reed keeps us entertained. And Clare Reed has written an incredible book published by the feminist press called Toughing It Out. I want everybody to read Toughing It Out because Clare Reed is a great activist. From SNCC to Women's Strike for Peace to Bella Abzug's political career, and now she works for BALI, the Bella Abzug Leadership Institute, and Nesri. And Clare Reed, cranky Clare Reed, is also a wonderful poet.
Oh, I'm not a wonderful poet. No. You're all going to drive me nuts and out of the world. Okay. My mother used to say, I don't like what my mother ever said, but my mother used to say that at 80, most of us should just lie back and take it easy and rest on our laurels. I forgot I have glasses on. Now I can read. But I'm not too surprised to note that Clare Coss is not a most of us. Of all the various forms of theater, opera is the most difficult to develop. This is a known fact, unless you are Clare Coss. Her current project for her 80th birthday is working on transforming Emmett Till, her play, to an opera. What's to say, except that Clare Coss is definitely not one of the most of us. Here's a poem I dedicate to this extraordinary, continuing, creative woman. The poem is, Who is Clare Coss? She is one composed of verse, kin to music's sharps and flats, blending a poet's lyrical poem to music's harmonious tones. A tender breeze brushes the strings of cello, violin, and harp. They quaver tremble, perform a canzone, rising in praise of those who bow the fiddle, strum the cello, pluck the harp, toast the maestro, salute the bard. Who is Clare Coss? One betrothed to art. Frankly, I don't like that poem because it should be about me because I'm betrothed to art. A Life I Lived is my next and last poem. Now you're going to hear why I'm a cranky old lady.
Into the mic a little louder.
95, they say. Aren't you lucky to be alive? Lucky echoes as I hear myself reply. I'm in mourning for my life, the life I lived, not the one of 95. To live in life is a body fully engaged, a mind immersed, engrossed, a soul stirring, impassioned, a heart in flutter with love, while spirit, soul, sparks, bold, dauntless, and all our tomorrows, unpredictable, startling, holding, who knows what? In dispute, isn't it great to be indisputably, verifiably in life, not merely alive. So you can see, I'm an angry woman.
I recommend for folks who don't know Clare Reed's work that you get her wonderful memoir from the Feminist Press and Google Chris Corey's review of that, which was published in the East Hampton Star, 31 January 2013. You can get it online, which is where I just got it. And it tells you a little more about that extraordinary woman.
It tells you that Chris Corey was and is my lover man.
I thought Drew was your lover. Oh, sorry.
I have a list. I'm only 95.
It is now my great pleasure to introduce, I think this is your first poetry reading, the magnificent Jamberly Tavares, who is the development director and the administrative manager of the Feminist Press. Jam makes things happen, and she made this evening happen. And Jam is a magnificent young woman, truly the hope of the future for many of us.
I've been, thank you so much, Claire. I've been reading Claire's collection of love poems, and so I came up with this one. I run out of argument and mythology cada vez que él se aparece enfrente de mí. This love does not understand advice or razones.
Into the mic, really, caress the mic. Slower.
We want every word.
Okay.
Start from the beginning.
Okay. I run out of argument and mythology cada vez que él se aparece enfrente de mí. This love does not understand advice or razones. It feeds on pretext. Este amor no permite que yo esté de pie. porque this love does not allow me to stand, because este amor no me permite permanecer, because it has cracked heels. I get up again, gross, blind, deaf, clumsy, fret, stubborn. It's all I've been for you. Me he convertido en una de las cosas que ama. I've become one thing that loves. Me he vuelto una cosa que le encanta. Me he hecho una cosa que ama. Nothing more than the thought of you day and night. And forget not, y no olvides, as I have tried many times to bury in my memory. And although I say no más, it's again the same story. Porque este amor siempre sabe. I take a deep breath y me sopla a la izquierda y peleo con el mundo, and blows me to the left and fights with the world, y me hace volar a la izquierda y luchas con el mundo. If I could purge you from my voice, si yo pudiera evitar su nombre. If I could escape your name, si yo pudiera purgar de su voz. If I could tear my heart, bruta, ciega, sorda, torpe, traste, testaruda, it's all I've been for you. Me he convertido en una de las cosas que ama. I've become one thing that loves. Me he vuelto una cosa que le encanta. Me he hecho una cosa que ama. Nothing more than el pensamiento de usted día y noche. And forget not, ojerosa, flaca, fea, estúpida, estúpida, estúpida. Loca, lenta, completamente. Haggard, skinny, ugly, slanted, stupid, 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 crazy, slow, completely. Fea, flaca y demacrada. Loca, lenta, completamente. You realize you do not say anything to me again. Solo tú tienes asilo y no escucha lo que digo. Only you have asylum and do not hear what I say. ¿Qué harás conmigo? Gross, blind, deaf, clumsy, fret, stubborn is all I've been for you. Bruta, ciega, sorda, torpe, traste, testaruda es todo lo que llevo para ti.
Claire, do you want to introduce the song, My Son, My Child, and say a word about the opera? This is from Emmett Till, the opera.
Is she going to say?
No? Chris? You want? No? Just, okay, Caroline? This is it. We're going to have Crystal Charles, a very extraordinary mezzo-soprano who most recently we heard in the 1929 revival, sort of done up at Columbia, of Voodoo, and Caroline Stessinger, who for many of us is the impresario of the Western world. She did great music for a great city here at the Graduate Center for many years, and of course she is at John Jay. She is our music director. Among many other things, she is really one of the most notable impresarios in our community. Thank you. Thank you, Crystal Charles. Is there a seat for Sandra? Are you okay? Okay. Is there, there's a seat over here. Thank you so much. Crystal Charles, Caroline Stessinger, that was incredible. And that was the first time we've heard Clare Coss's aria with Mary Watkins. Mary Watkins is in California, with Judy Grahn in California. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Our next poet is Kathy Engel, our dear friend. I once hired Kathy Engel to run the Fund for Open Information and Accountability, and we fought to keep the Freedom of Information Act alive, and we got lots of things declassified, including all of COINTELPRO, and we need freedom of information again. Kathy is a great poet, but she's best known perhaps as the founder of Madre, which is that human rights organization we all need now, alas, as much or more than ever. And many books, many articles, and you're now chair at NYU of what department?
Art and Public Policy.
Kathy Engel is chair of the Department of Art and Public Policy at NYU. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Kathy Engel, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Blanche. What a beautiful way to have a birthday. Have birthdays. I want to do this for my birthday. Happy birthday, Claire. Happy birthday, Charlotte. I was thinking about how long you and Blanche have been in my life. Yes, you did hire me, Blanche.
And I didn't say your mother's name. I didn't say that.
And that I used to, when our daughters were younger, very young, I used to always tell them to pay attention to Blanche and Claire so they would understand what a loving relationship is. Mm-hmm. And they remember that very well and said to wish you happy birthday. I'm going to read a poem by Suzanne Jardinier, who's in Havana and couldn't be here but sends hugs in the form of a poem and in the form of a hug. In the dream, you're walking on a beach, and everyone you've ever loved is there. The facts of loss this earth can't help but teach, dispersing as the dawn touches the air and moves it into shapes that seem familiar, as if you've seen them many times before, the hint of everlasting, whispering from pines that edge the dancing on the shore. And when you wake, it's morning still, but this one, the hint of always hovering above this place that makes you weep and leans to kiss you and gives you years in which to learn to love the beauty of this earth, keen as a knife, this tune, this place, this face, this chance, this life. Suzanne Chardinier for Claire. I'm going to read one poem. It's called Return. I think a lot about connectedness and the possibilities of awareness of our connectedness, not only with each other as humans, but with the larger living world. This is called Return. The animals camp out in the farm of my body, a field of muscle, fat, and bone, sea of nerves. They mend my vessels, sew back my arteries, sing my stutter, gallop my missteps. First a horse, then the others claim their places. Even snakes and insects swivel and swarm. I thought the rupture within was all a human thing. The mother, the father, the lost girl. Now I understand. The earth itself is calling, and the animals, buried, scattered, those who rise, snort, bellow, murmur, hiss. Their hooves, wings, fins, and tentacles seed the soil, repair the soul.
It is my great pleasure to introduce now, thank you, Kathy, Naomi Raplansky. Naomi Raplansky is the author of is the poet of many, many poems. Ring Song, published by Scribner's in 2015. Her collected poems, published in 2012, which is one of our favorite books, won the Society of America's William Carlos Williams Award and was a finalist for the 2014 Poets Prize. A lot of Naomi Raplansky is online. One of the people who have written about Naomi Raplansky, we think of this as the age of Muriel Rukeyser or the age of Auden, and there are people online who have written, Grace Paley, Ursula Le Guin, who say, this is really the age of Naomi Raplansky. So I give to you with great pleasure, Naomi Raplansky.
I can't live up to that introduction, sorry. Happy birthday, Bland. I'm about to call you Bland. Claire. It's been such a joy to know Blanche and Claire. The first poem I'll read is called An Inheritance. $5, $4, $3, 2, 1, and none. And what will we do? This is the worry that never got said, but ran so often in my mother's head, and showed so plain in my father's frown, that to us kids it drifted down. It drifted down like soot, like snow, in the dream-tossed Bronx in the long ago. I shook it off with a shake of the head. I bounced my ball. I ate warm bread. I skated down the steepest hill, but I must have listened against my will. When the wind blows wrong, I can hear it today, and my mother's worry stops all play. And as if in its rightful place, my father's frown divides my face. catalog. Now, I was a little worried about, this might be a little negative about age, so, and this is wrong for birthday, but we got to face it all, right, Claire?
Right.
I wrote this many years ago when I was a few years older. At that time, I was a few years older than Claire is now. Catalog. My blurring eyes, my deafened ears, oh, careless sadism of the years. Sun-loving and sun-ravaged skin, one-sided love has done you in. My teeth, less said, less missed. My heart, my runaway, my telltale heart. Heart whose misfirings can defeat the pulse of this iambic beat, while hypochondria detects whatever ill it hears of next. In couplets that are not heroic, I try to say in accents stoic, for every rusting body fetter, perhaps my wit will work the better. I will not be subservient to every road ligament. I'll prove on my anatomy of body, mind, decoupling. Brave words. No use. I cannot force such an unnatural divorce. My body, you have stood by me through insult and through injury, some 80 years. How can my mind, seeing you slow, not lag behind? Its sharpness dulls, yet feels each ache. How not to mourn for your sweet sake? My generous, my failing host, oh, do not yet give up this ghost. Kindle for me a little spark, for I am whistling in the dark.
And if we could have an encore, could we have an encore later? I thought it wasn't and it couldn't be, but then that poem. She's going to read my favorite poem. Aren't I a pig? It's just, this is really, and you wrote it after 80, right?
Yes.
Here.
You have to find it. My security blanket is having this there. When I get nervous, I can. Let's see.
This is worth waiting for, I promise.
You better be right. I'm always The Oasis.
What is it? The Oasis?
The Oasis.
Oh,
I thought I held a fruit cupped in my hand. Its sweetness burst and loosed its juice. After long traveling, after so long a thirst, I asked myself, is this a drought-born dream? It was no dream. I thought I slipped into a hidden room out of harsh light, in cushioned dark among rich furnishings. There I restored my sight. Such luxury could never be for me. It was for me. I thought I touched a mind that fitted mine as bodies fit, angled to curve, and my mind throbbed to feel the pulsing of that wit. This comes too late, I said. It can't be true. But it was true. I thought the desert ended, and I felt the fountains leap. Then gratitude could answer gratitude, till sleep entwined with sleep. Despair once cried, no passion left inside. It lied. It lied.
For those of you who don't know, that was Naomi Raplansky's poem to Ava Kolish. It didn't lie. And there's Ava Kolish. And we're all so blessed with them in our lives. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Camila Aisha Moon, who has been published widely in anthologies and journals, the author of Shatasa Name, Four-Way Books. She was a finalist for the Lambda Literary Award and the Audre Lorde Award from the Publishing Triangle. We are so pleased to have you with us, Aisha Moon, today.
Wow, what an honor to be among you this evening celebrating these women. Claire and Charlotte, just thank you for all of your hard work, for your vision, for all of your paving. I'll read a poem from She Has a Name. This is called Watching a Woman on the M101 Express. And I'm also from one of those mixed families. My mother's from Rochester, my dad's from West Virginia. So. You sit in a hard blue seat, one of the ones reserved for the elderly or infirm, a statue of need. Your mouth open as if waiting for water or medicine, as if mugged mid-sentence or some ice age hit right after terrible news. Oblivious to the metro's bump and buck, to the toddler begging in Spanish to be freed from her stroller, to my ogling, you sit embalmed, raccooned or moosed. You have the kind of eyes that never quite close, even in deepest sleep, lids and undersized t-shirt that leaves belly exposed. Tears navigate moles, veteran swimmers of your creek bed face. I can't stop looking. You can't get over whatever has happened, so shell-shocked that birds could land and roost. I want to ask, just so you know someone is paying attention, but not enough to know what ravages. It's rude to stare. I'm from the South, a suburb where grief pulls the shades first, stays home if indecent. But your sorrow struts 4 rows down from me, strands you an astronaut on some distant, undiscovered moon. Bodies to your left and right read papers, nap, send text messages. You sit in a hard blue seat, mouth open. I study the pink of your jaw and wonder if you'll come back before your stop comes. The first time I saw my mother without her prosthesis after Hafiza Jeter. Like the smooth face of the cliff she was just thrown from, the left side of her chest was flat and blank, save for 2 tiny raised sides. Not a half-carved turkey, thankless, but a woman. It almost seemed as if her breast could be drawn back on again, as if the scalpel was merely erasing cancer, as if the right one hanging like an enormous brown tear wasn't the lonely twin. As if this new lightness didn't threaten to render her a widow of his touch, demother her somehow. Is this a crystal ball moment? The fanged, wily shadow never outrun or outwitted. Do you want to see, baby? I couldn't say no. Her love never flinched, neither would I. Now end with initiation for Rachel Eliza. Your friend has entered the tribe of those who've buried their mothers, and she is different. More of herself than ever, but a new layer. The affect of one unable to shake the sounds of leaving, to unsee profound rising preceding her own waiting. What day is it? Does it matter? Where am I? The keys. Inducted into a society of hurried truces and anointing that becomes a steady hum in the music of all things. The full gray sky held its water as she rained and rained, a rain that will never dissipate, her legs forgetting for a spell why they were made, her husband's arms remembering what they're for. Shining, gorgeous grief, death's anchor a terrible salvation to a family adrift. The sob and tremble of gone, gone, coursing through clasped hands. The duty of firstborn daughters, how it lengthens the spine and hollows the cheeks as she holds the widower's hand. Her crowded face in the mirror, the morning walk with the grand dog ambushed by epiphany, oh, the baby she won't meet. At any hour, snippets of speech, sensation, and memory surge, stranding former selves as starfish and conscious strewn on some remote beach. The thought of calling, of being called, stopped in its tracks. No, the ground opened and we gave her back, shut down the interstate, and stood without falling among all those stones. When mothers are lowered, daughters break out of boxes, unbossed by the minutia that comes with breathing. You saw it happen. See it in your friend's furrowed brow, the revised way she leans in a doorway across a kitchen counter. Her mother has gone there, dragging her into a new here, and her gait has changed. This missing flares. Gone is the banter of carefree homegirls. A deeper cadence reigns, that grown alto, mama heavy on her tongue, loud and loving in her mind and lucid dreams. Heiress to her mother's wellspring and might, she finally gets what really means. When mothers are planted, daughters begin a furious blooming.
Thank you so much. Great. Listed on the program for our next poet is Sam Starkweather. Samson Starkweather couldn't be with us today, and I think that a lot of folks don't know that Sam Starkweather, who runs Humanities Center here and is responsible with Al Clay for so much of Lost and Found, is also a poet, and he has a book, Like Clouds Never Render, and I just would like to read one paragraph of one of the many wonderful poems in this book, Like Clouds Never Render. Samson Starkweather, who did so much to make today happen. Floating anchor, tethered to an idea. The real, we are tired. Give us cotton, violence, questions. Peace knows no boundaries. Peace knows no boundaries. Thank you, Sam Starkweather. And now we have one of the Metropolitan Opera's most extraordinary baritones here from Berlin for Clare Coss's birthday, Terry Cook, who is going to sing Zwei Knut, Richard Strauss, accompanied by Caroline Stessinger. Thank you, Terry. Terry Cook. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Caroline Stessinger and Terry Cook. Mina Alexander. Mina Alexander, those of us here at the Graduate Center. Wait a minute. I just want to say a few words. Those of us here at the Graduate Center are very honored to work with Mina Alexander, whose new book of poetry, Atmospheric Embroidery, was just published by Hachette in India. Her volumes of poetry include Birthplace with Buried Stones, Illiterate Heart, the winner of the Pen Open Book Award, Raw Silk, and Quickly Changing River. Her poetry has been translated into many languages and set to music, and she has written the acclaimed autobiography, which I recommend to everybody, Fault Lines, required reading in 2 of my courses. She is the author of academic study Women in Romanticism and the book of essays Poetics of Dislocation, the author also of 2 novels, yes, and distinguished professor of English at Hunter and the Graduate Center. Beloved Mina Alexander.
What an honor to be here, and what a delight. You know, Claire, if we could all be only as beautiful and creative as you at the age of 80, the world would be complete. So thank you for being such a marvelous inspiration. And thank you, Charlotte, for being who you are, and a very, very happy birthday to you, too. Let me try and put this back, yeah. I thought I would read, oh, by the way, thank you for the marvelous music. That was so extraordinary. Thank you. I do think that music is the highest art and poetry struggles somewhere. I'd like to start with a poem called Fragment in Praise of the Book. And it was written for the Al-Mutanabi Street project. That's the street in Baghdad where the booksellers used to hang out and sell their books, and it was bombed. This is called Fragment in Praise of the Book. Book with a word for love in all the languages that flow through me. Book made of leaves from a mango tree. Book of rice paper tossed by monsoon winds. Book of pearls from grandmother's wrist. Book of bottle glass rinsed by the sea. Book of the illiterate heart. Book of alphabets burnt so the truth can be told. Book of fire on Al-Mutanabi Street. Book for a child who wakes to smouldering ash. Book of singing grief. Book of reeds vanishing as light pours through. The next poem is inspired by Paul Celan, by this extraordinary great poet who wrote in German, as you know. And the talk he gave in Bremen, and it's called Night Theatre. Snails circle a shed where a child was born. She bled into straw. Who can write this? Under Arcturus' rubble of light. We have no words for what is happening. Still language endures, Celan said, as he stood in a torn green coat, shivering a little, in a night theatre in Bremen. I grew up both in India and in Sudan, and this new book has a cycle of poems based on drawings by children from the war zone. And this particular one is called, they're sonnets, and this particular one is called Green Leaves of El Fasher. El Fasher is the capital of Darfur province. And I had friends from Darfur when I was growing up. Everything that's real turns to sun. Stones, trees, the jeeps they came in, those men. In Jabal Marra, the leaves are very green. Here in El Fasher, too. I am singing, stones fill with music. Do not touch my hair, I cried. They forced me to uncover my head, then beat me when my veil slipped. Not the pink one I'm wearing now with stripes. This my aunt gave me. I am not an animal. They are more free. Birds in the tree, horses too. I am your language, do not cover me. I am burning in what you take to be the present tense. We are the letters Aleph, Ba, Ta, Mim. What the sun makes as it spins a nest of fire. I want to read a little love poem because it is the birthday to be celebrated. And this one's called Darling Coffee. It's a coffee bar where we go sometimes. The periodic pleasure of small happenings is upon us. Behind the stalls at the farmer's market, snow glinting in heaps. A cardinal, its chest puffed out, bloodshot above the piles of awnings. Passion's proclivities. You picking up a sweet potato, turning to me. This too? Query of tenderness under the blown red wing. Remember the brazen world? Let's find a room with a window onto elms strung with sunlight. A cafe with polished cups. Darling coffee, they call it. May our bed be stocked with fresh cut rosemary and glinting thyme, all herbs in due season, tucked under wild sheets, fit for the conjugation of joy. Happy birthday, Claire.
Thank you, Mina. Thank you so much. Our next poet, novelist, memoirist, activist is Margaret Randall. And I asked Margaret, is it true that she wrote 84 books? And she said, no, it was over 100. So I don't know what to say to introduce Margaret Randall, who is truly one of our most prolific and profound poets and activists, except to say we're glad you're here. We're glad that because of the CCR, and Michael Smith is here, and the CCR got something to do with letting you back into the United States after years away in Cuba and Nicaragua and Mexico. And all of this is in your 100 or so books. So you could tell us which. But if you came in slowly, you noticed perhaps there was a big, a wonderful big advertisement for Margaret's incredible introduction to her new biography of Heidi, which you'll tell us a little bit about, presumably. A great talk that she gave, supported by Lost and Found, by Emil Alcalay and all the folks that made today possible. Okay, I will. Stop. Margaret Randall.
Happy birthday, Claire and Charlotte. It's wonderful to be here. What a wonderful thing to hear all of you, the music, the poetry, and such a great mix of age and all kinds of diversity, including North and South. I think Barbara and I both, in many ways, think of Claire and Blanche as midwives. They have been midwives to my life, and I thank you for that. I'm going to read 3 poems, but one, I promise you, only has 6 lines. This is Not Your Neighborhood. It's not your neighborhood at first, but a street across town where balconies of flowers become grotesque fragments, trampled in choking dust. Another family's children, maimed or dead. Another searching for shelter. Where are they? Right there, and then everywhere, as the last slivers of silence disappear. Your side of the city falls. Landscape of rubble, work and school are lost, and water and food. And now you are walking with what you can carry, and every day you carry less. Direction, your only friend, its destination enveloped in something you once called hope. The rest of the world, those families who still have clean rooms with televisions parsing the nightly news, sees the face of a small girl with large eyes. Her curls reach mid-thigh of the adult beside her, who is beyond the frame. They are moving north and west. You are moving, but not as fast, and the small girl with large eyes is not enough to wake a complacent world. So another picture tries. A man gently lifting the body of a dead child from the sea. In minutes, the image gets 1 million likes. Instagram attention from those who watch in warmth from rainproof homes. Tens of thousands crowd rubber dinghies or creaking boats, follow rail tracks, storm borders, escaping countries, dissolving in blood and dust, carrying those who cannot walk, pushing wheelchairs, pulling carts. Few are photogenic or speak sufficient English to muster sympathy on the 6 o'clock news. As all sides fight on, countries lose the definition of country, and the thugs remain convinced they must fight harder, kill more, destroy memory along with those who live in its fragile wake. Fight to the finish is a dictate designed to make sure everything dies, even the beloved stories. 21st century paints itself in colors rent by razor wire, money demanded by those always ready to profit from misery, obscure words to be learned, new tastes to swallow as arms reach out with woolen gloves and teddy bears. Exhaustion devours what used to fit, perfectly. Most of the faces aren't engaging enough. Most of the eyes not large and round. Most of the bodies are bent, never the best camera angle. Most cannot speak English. The small girl who is still alive and the dead child's body washed ashore share a heavy load. They labor beyond their years. So this very short poem is called The Really Bad Words. Hurt hung her head, such bad karma, until shame came along. My name is worse, she said. I eat living flesh. And I'm going to end with a poem recently from Havana, where we were in April. I did just want to say for Michael Smith that thank you to the Center for Constitutional Rights. If it had not been for you, I would not be here. This poem is called Written in Patria Muerte. Night shrouds this Havana street. Its buildings might be freshly painted. No electrical wires struggling for power. No despair hanging from a full moon, pale orange in duplicitous sky. Night, the great equalizer. What we do not see cannot make us sad. 56 years, pride, defiant against insult, hair trigger designed to bring a nation to its knees. In daylight, the ragged shells of buildings gone to age succumb to the tropics' sudden downpour, claim a redemption written in Patria Muerte, traded in a currency called spirit, a future not sold to the highest bidder, not recognized on any stock exchange, or designed to dominate and kill. We live in community or die. And I just want to end by saying that to me, Claire and Charlotte and Blanche and all of you are community, and that's what keeps us going. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Thank you.
It is now my great joy and pleasure to introduce our goddaughter, Elizabeth Lord Rollins, poet.
That's all you need to say.
That's all I need to say. Activist. No, I just want to say one more thing. Beth said when she was 3 years old, I want to be a doctor. Then she said, I'm going to be a doctor. And so Dr. Elizabeth Lord Rollins, OBGYN, MD, our goddaughter. Thank you so much.
I am so honored to be here. So honored to be here. And thank you for the introduction. I didn't want you to say anything I couldn't live up to. Happy birthday. And happy birthday to you too. Claire taught me how to listen. And with that, my first poem is Edigogo, means Day of Joy in Nigeria. I can't grow another one. That's what she said anyway. She was nice for a doctor. At least she really broke it down. She said it real low, like she was fixing to cry or something. It looks like when they operated on you, they removed the clitoris, but I can't be sure. There's a tiny bump. See here? And there may be some of it left. See this faint line? It's where your baby's skin was brought together. It covers the hole you pee through. That's why it just dribbles out. You see this tiny opening, smaller than a Q-tip? That's the opening of your vagina. So we can open the skin very gently, but in an operating room, while you sleep. That's when I asked her, what if you open it and there's no clitoris underneath? Can I grow another one? Or can you put a new one on? There's this boy in my class named Makai. He's really cute, but I can tell he's trifling. He only talks to me when no one else is around. Everybody says he likes my best friend. I liked him first, but I never told no one. When I was about 11, I remember there was a show on TV that discussed teenage suicide. And our parents were very upset and turned to my brother and I and said, you've got to promise us you'll come to us if anything's upsetting you. And we both kind of, you know, how 11-year-olds kind of rolled their eyes and said, we would go talk to Blanche and Claire. And I've learned so much from Claire, and I have learned an open kind of loving from Claire that also lets go and that also enables me to acknowledge missing and grief. And this poem is called The Forensics of Missing. The car remains, the house sold. Your lovely and purposeful things dispersed all over Sun City, and us, of course, we are left. Jonathan with his penchant for doing things the right way the first time, sometimes perfect, often inconvenient. My love of sweet things, preferably at night and alone. But you sit here, I can see you. You're ready for anythingness. The flashlight waits for an emergency. The glass breaker seatbelt cutter keeps sharp in case I go over a rail. The first aid kit watches from the trunk. Your loves are here. Maps of Vermont and Arizona. Monument Valley, opera in the tape deck. Shall I explain what that was, children? And your ailments, too. Populate the front seat and the center console. Huge blackout sunglasses with flaps on the side. Carmex for chronically dry lips. About 50 packs of mini Kleenex to go. No, the essential you is here. I smell it as soon as I open the door. I say essential being a scientist. If I were a priest, I'd consider the essential you your soul, but I'm sure that flew away months ago. I hope it's not an invasion of your privacy to say there was a clipped fingernail under the driver's floor mat. A lone white blonde hair clung to the upholstery on the passenger side door. These were just tokens. Your essence still lives here. The very spirals that zippered up and zippered down to make you. Francis, how you moved about the world and touched all of us in quiet forever ways. A smell so sweet I cannot describe. Cookies baking with mixed, clean linen drying in the sun, mixed with Sedona's fall winds, mixed with desert flower. In short, I'll say it. It smells like love in this car. The kind of love only you gave. Not the love for one who makes one's life possible, but the love that truly asks for nothing except to be remembered, and even then, once in a while is enough, really truly enough. No guilt trips here. And the last poem I'm going to read is dedicated to you, because you taught me that also that I had a voice of my own, and it's also dedicated to my mother, Audre Lorde. Just one childhood contradiction. Peace and love in the Aquarian age, baptized Catholic to please my granny, schooled upon a Quaker page. I know conscientious objector before I know any school lunch, bathroom pass, or what to do with rage. Still, when you see my blackened eyes and I finger Georgie from the neighborhood, with nostrils flared and teeth almost bared, you drive. You're not looking at me, thank God, thank you, God, thank you. But we're not inside the house before you do. You are a tower. You spit. He's half your size. It's the first time I've literally seen you breathe. When my I Ching reading, tarot throwing mother speaks, your message is not to turn the other cheek. Instead, God will forever be my witness. It's get down that block and settle your business. This sounds even stranger, but it's all true. Next comes, don't step foot in this house until you do. Poor George. How could he have known? He's not near as scary as what waits at home. And 40 years later, am I without grace for finding joy in stomping his face? 40 years later, I will remember how good his fear feels that September, how red the leaves, the air so fresh, how his nose gives way when my fist connects, how strange to see him on the ground, how liberating to go to town. That very Sunday, we're back in the Quaker meeting place. I'm losing my religion, but at 8 I have no name for this, and all I can see is Georgie's bloody face. I am filled, I am covered. Like windows, sunlight bathes me. Dispensation brings glee, then shame. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth Lord Rollins. And for those of you who remember Francis Clayton, that was Francis Clayton. Sorry, just wanted to say that. So, our next reader is Sandra Robinson. Sandra Robinson, I asked folks to send me things, and she sent me a brief resume in which she wrote that she is Riggs Professor of Asian Studies at Sarah Lawrence College. Her research fields are caste and gender in India and post-colonial theory. Professor Sandra Robinson is the winner of many awards in her field, former chair, South Asia Council, and board member, Association for Asian Studies. She has taught at Harvard, Duke, and Swarthmore, and Sarah Lawrence is very happy to have her. And the one thing she didn't put down in this biography is she's a closet poet. And she has a wonderful book, which I've brought in case she doesn't mention it. It's called Ebonics. And Sandra Robinson, who is a wonderful poet. No, she's not. No. You coming up? Yeah. She's also on the board. We serve on the board together of the Feminist Press. Aren't I lucky? I have an ally.
She was just supposed to draw a couple of words from that old resume. Claire, Charlotte, it's an honor to be here celebrating your birthdays. And I'm going to be brief. Just read one poem in the spirit of your being activists. And it is called Shuttle, from a painting by Diego Rivera. It's a pantoum. Squat wives settle down, tattered baskets before them. Their hands shuttle down and up to those who pass by. From tattered baskets, are they selling ripe squash to those who pass by? Or begging for food? Are they selling ripe squash, plump with promise? Or begging for food for the children behind them? Plump with promise, just in motherly dreams, those children behind them. What exchange of stock looms in their futures when their hands reach up? What stock exchange looms when they settle down? And on a very different note, I'm going to indulge myself because, Claire, you've dared to delve into the realm of erotica. So that emboldens me to offer my homage, my modest homage to the vagina monologues. I call it pudendum panegyric. A pudendum can be a pudgy, pouting purse, an imperiled pariah, a pelvic privy perched to pander, procuring profit of perfect progeny. Or it may prove a pliable, puffed potpourri, a plump, proud popsy poised for presentation, pleasure, prolix with pearly pectins. A pubescent pudendum, pure's pablum, with peachy parcel padlocked by pop, pulls from perils of puerile pawing, purloined panting, palsied pats of peers, provocations parsimoniously passing for passion. A perky, proper, placable pudendum preens, poses, is prone to place periods and pubic peccadillos apart from public purview. And prior to prolapse from private probes, repudiates protein from presumptuous penises projected from pendulous prostates too soon prostrate. A privileged pudendum's portal plays with panache, postpones punishing punch of pap probes, puckers at posses of peeping Persian potentates, and presumes to pray for pithy prophylactics unprepossessed.
Thank you, Conrad Robinson. Before we sing Gracias a la Vida, Helene Goldfarb, on the board of the Feminist Press, is going to read something that Rebecca Seawright, who is chair of our board, has for her to read. It's a surprise, I am told. Yep. And Rebecca Seawright is also in Havana, or?
No, she's in Ireland.
Ireland. In Ireland. Thank you.
Thank you.
Helene Goldfarb.
Thank you very much. This is not from me. This is from Rebecca Seawright, who is the assembly person from the 76th district in Manhattan. She's the first woman ever elected from that district and has, in her first year, had 5 bills passed. Unbelievable. She asked me to bring this and read this for Claire. It's a citation from the New York State Assembly. Whereas,
On the occasion of the 80th birthday, we honor Clare Coss, whereas Clare Coss is a playwright, psychotherapist, and activist convinced that we have it in our power to create a just and safe world, whereas Clare Coss features dynamic women who resist indifference to the cruel realities of poverty, sexism, racism, and war, whereas in 1996, Clare Koss's anthology of lesbian love poems, published by the feminist press, The Ark of Love, was a finalist for the Lambda Literary Award, whereas Clare Coss is passionate about activist policies for women, peace, and freedom. Resolved that I, Rebecca A. Seawright, member of the Assembly for the 76th District, celebrate Clare Coss for her hard work and wish her a very happy birthday.
Truly awesome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Look at how gorgeous that is.
That's beautiful. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is awesome. Well, this has been the most wonderful dream come true.
Into the mic.
This has been the most wonderful dream come true this evening. Thank you all so much. We thought Roxana had the wonderful idea that we could all sing together, Gracias a la Vida. And we have some singers here, we know. But we have a tape with Mercedes Sosa and Joan Baez singing, and maybe we can sing along with them. Would you all like the words are in the program? And I don't know how it gets. Oh, you set it up. Okay.